So as I mentioned, we are going kind of by book, kind of off of our book for our chapter 13 trigonometry unit. And we are going to jump ahead to 13.3, which is radian measure. Some of you guys might have seen in geometry what a radius is, or what a radian is. And for some reason, my animation went away. If you didn't see it though, or if you don't necessarily remember, I have an animation to help kind of illustrate what it is. So here's our animation. We start off by drawing a circle with a radius of length r. And we'll take that radius and we'll pull it out of our circle and lay it around our circle, forming an arc of r. This angle that's formed is called 1 radian. And then if we keep going, there's a 2nd radian, there's a 3rd radian, and then there's a little tiny bit left over. Altogether, this is pi radians. So if we extend that all the way around our circle, this whole angle measure is 2 pi radians. Now, this is a good unit of measure because if you think about degrees, well, what is a degree? Somebody arbitrarily split a circle into 360 markings and called that a degree. Radian actually uses part of our circle to determine what that angle measure is. So we'll go through the animation again so you can see it. Again, hopefully being able to pause my video along the way will help too. I wish I could pause this animation, but here we go. Again, we have our circle that we draw in with a radius of r. We take that radius, pull it outside of our circle, lay it around, forming an arc. Take our positive x-axis there and connect our endpoints to the origin to form our angle of angle 1 radian. Okay. So pi radians is what we think of as 180 degrees. 2 pi radians is a full circle, 360 degrees. Thinking of the unit that we know pretty well already. All right, so let's write a couple things down. First of all, what is a radian? A radian is the angle formed by a radius wrapped around a circle. And hopefully having seen that animation will help that make sense. And as we saw in the animation, 360 degrees is 2 pi radians. Now, knowing what a radian is helps us a few different ways. First of all, like I said, degree is a very arbitrary unit of measure. Who determined 360? It was actually the ancient Babylonians, but that's a different story. A radian actually uses part of our circle. With that being said, radian is, I guess, kind of the more accepted angle measure. You'll see radians a lot in calculus, but you can also convert between degrees and radians, and that is what we are going to do in example 1 here. And I will convert both ways. My first part in example 1, let's convert what is the degree measure. Of -7 pi over 30 radians. So first of all, think this is an angle measure. -7 pi over 30 radians is an angle measure. And if you think about your coordinate plane, a negative angle means we're going to go clockwise around our circle. Negative 7 pi over 30. This is a pretty small fraction, so we're not really going to go clockwise very far. Just to kind of give you a little context of what we're talking about here. Now, if you've done chemistry and dimensional analysis, these conversions will be a lot easier for you. If you haven't done chemistry or you haven't seen dimensional analysis before, hopefully it won't be too bad still. So the idea with dimensional analysis is we want labels to cancel out. So right now I'm starting off with negative 7 pi over 30, and these are in radians. I know 360 degrees is 2 pi radians. Same thing. So if you think of like 2 pi radians over 360 degrees as a fraction, well, that's 1, because it's the same thing. Something divided by itself is 1. And that helps me convert quite nicely, because if I multiply by, well, I want my radian label to cancel out because I want to get to degrees. I have 360 degrees is 2 pi radians. If I multiply by this, my radian labels are going to cancel out. Now, this negative 7 pi over 30, I'm going to rewrite that 30 to be a little more drastically on the bottom, because now it's a little easier to see, okay, the negative 7 pi, I multiply by 360, multiply the 30 times 2 pi, and that'll help me simplify my fraction. Now, before I actually multiply those numbers, because we don't necessarily have to do 7 times 360, remember that we can simplify diagonally too, like 30 and 360. Simplify to 1 and 12. And then 12 over 2 simplifies to 6 over 1. And that makes our numbers a lot easier to work with, because now I have negative 7 pi times 6 is negative 42 pi over 1 times 1 pi. Pi's cancel out. My label is negative 42 degrees, or my unit is negative 42 degrees. Like I said, I would convert the other way also, so that's what I will do now. What is the radian measure of 60 degrees? Well, similar idea. Let's start off with what we know. We have 60 degrees. And I want to multiply by something so that my labels cancel out, which means I need to have degrees on the bottom and radians on the top. Well, a full circle is 360 degrees, or also 2 pi radians. Now my degrees label cancel out. 60 over 360 is 1 over 6. And then 2 over 6 is 1 over 3. So 1 pi over 3 radians and 60 degrees.